Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at Need for Speed Most Wanted from 2012. So this game is pretty old now, that's it, getting on for 11 years old. However, I just decided to have a go at this recently. I played this game originally back in 2012 on the PlayStation Vita. As you see here, I'm showing some footage of me playing it recently actually. So this game came out in 2012. I bought it on the PlayStation Vita. I know it was out on various other platforms. It was on Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, even came out on the Wii U and on handheld devices like Android and iOS. So what I liked about this game was it just looked so good on the PlayStation Vita. As you can see now, it still looks good. It stands up today. So you got the full game on the PlayStation Vita. Basically you got the same game that you got on the PS3, with just slightly different shaders, maybe a bit less of the HD content, but the game still looked and felt similar. And what I did notice was, it must have just been me at the time, but I tried the game on PlayStation 3 and it felt more laggy to me, the inputs. But I think actually it was the case that I just got used to the controls on the PlayStation Vita. The game is a little bit tricky. It's not an arcade racer and it's not a realistic racer, it's somewhere in between. So you kind of have to set up, if you're doing fast corners, you kind of have to set up a little fraction of a second before you're actually turning in. But it is a good game. It still looks good, it looks brilliant on the OLED display. And what I want to do now is show how this game looks on other, more modern hardware. So the game also came out on PC back in 2012. Now I never bought this game until late 2021. And I've never actually got around to playing it again, it was just a nostalgia thing. I got a Platinum Trophy on the PlayStation Vita and I thought I'm going to buy it again on PC. I've got it on PS3, I'm going to buy it again on PC. And it was on a special offer. Unfortunately, it's not been on special offer for quite some time. I think that's possibly down to the fact that it's got quite a lot of probably licensed music. But if you can get this game cheaply, is it worth buying? And that's what we're going to look at in this next part of the video. So here we are over on the Steam Deck, and well, this game looks amazing. So the settings I've used are as follows. We've set it to 720p. We have turned on high resolution textures. We've got no motion blur because I just don't like that sensation. Shadow level set to medium. We have set the headlight shadows are on. The ambient occlusion is set to medium. Reflection detail is medium. VFX detail set to high and geometry detail set to medium. And we've turned super sampling to 2x just to kind of make it a little bit crisper. Now the reason I set it to 720p is because I also turned on FSR natively within the Steam Deck. And at those settings you can get by using only 10 watts and you can have this absolutely locked to 60 FPS. And I think this game looks, well, it looks modern, doesn't it? So as modern racing games go though, it doesn't feel that modern. It definitely feels much more like an arcade racer of its time, even though it isn't that arcadey in some ways. But what I particularly like about it was the fact that Criterion Games, they made a game that's not just like a Need for Speed game, but it also feels like a Burnout game. And that's because, well, it kind of is, isn't it? It's a kind of mishmash between Burnout Paradise and Need for Speed. And it works really well. It's the sort of game that you can pick up and you can play for 5 minutes. You could just race around, smashing into police cars, having a bit of fun, or you can go blast through some challenges like breaking billboards, or you can do some proper racing, or you can race online. You can do all of these things and you can spend as little or as long as you like in it, which I think is the perfect sort of game for the Steam Deck. So, should you buy it in 2023? Well, at the moment, the prices of the game over on Valve are just ludicrous. So I would say no, not right now. But maybe add it to your wish list and possibly snap it up if it goes on sale. Now, the one thing I don't like about the PC version and the older PlayStation Vita version, or versus the PlayStation Vita version, is on the PC version there's lots of DLC content. Now I don't have any of the DLC content, I've just got the base game. And on the Vita it was great, you drove around, if you found a car, you collected the car, that was your car. On the PC version it's a little bit different. Most of the time you'll drive around and the cars are just available. You've got a little steering wheel icon on screen and you can drive up and you can jump in those cars. Every now and then you'll get a little Need for Speed icon. You can't get those cars, not without buying some DLC content. So that cheapens it a little bit for me. This game I absolutely loved, so much that I got every trophy on the PlayStation Vita so that I could get the Platinum Award. And that meant breaking every billboard, crashing through every gate, winning every race, doing every piece of online stuff that you had to do as well, setting every highest top speed through speed cameras. It was a lot of work, but it was a lot of fun. So, as you can see, game runs really well. You can have just as much fun messing about getting chased by the police as you can in actual races, and we'll just sit and enjoy some of this content. What I will do is we'll flip over and I'll show some content of this run on my 1X player as well. Now the 1X player, it doesn't run at 60 FPS solid. I've set it to high performance profile in Windows, and I haven't tweaked any settings with the APU. I haven't set it to a higher wattage. I've just let it work all out for itself. And you can see the game settings I've got here. 1280 by 800 for the screen resolution. High resolution textures are on. Motion blur is none. Shadow level is high. Headlight shadows is on, ambient occlusion is off, reflection detail is high, VFX is high, geometry is medium, light scatter is on, and super sampling is set to 2x. And, well, as you can see, the game looks absolutely fantastic on the 1X player. The big screen really makes a difference. If I had to pick between the Steam Deck, the 1X player, and the Anbernic 1600, I would definitely pick the 1X player as the maybe nicer experience in that it's got a bigger, more vibrant screen. I think you're going to get a longer battery life from the Steam Deck. The 1600s, well, it's definitely going to be the smallest device that you can play it on, unless you've got a PlayStation Vita. But if you want to run at this high graphics settings, if you were to pick which platform to play it on, if you're picking between the Steam Deck, the 1X player, and the Anbernic 1600, well, I would pick the 1X player. I think it's got the bigger screen, it's a bit more vibrant. Okay, the battery life isn't going to be quite as long on the 1X player as it would on the Steam Deck. The Steam Deck ergonomics would probably lend themselves to better playing experience over a longer time. That said, if you've got a PlayStation Vita, why not just play it on that? Still looks pretty good. It drives just as well. It's the same map, it's the same cars. It just runs really well. And finally, let's have a quick look at how this game runs on the Anbernic 1600. So the game's getting on for 12 years old, so it should run okay. Or at least that's what I thought when I first fired it up on the Anbernic 1600. And I was rewarded with a black screen for a second and then the game ending task. And that went on for quite some time until I eventually worked out that the issue I was having was with MSI Afterburner. So the fact that MSI Afterburner was running on my 1X player didn't seem to be an issue. As you can see, if you go back, you'll see that I have performance overlay on the 1X player. But I don't have them on the Anbernic because for some reason MSI Afterburner just was causing the game to crash constantly. I don't know if it was maybe because there's just a bit less resources on the Anbernic. Anyway, once I quit out of MSI Afterburner, the game loaded fine. So here we're running 720p. I tried running it at 540p, but it just wouldn't take that resolution. So I was stuck with 720p. We kept the resolution textures at high, motion blur again set to none, shadow level set to medium. We have still got headlight shadows on, ambient occlusion is set to medium, reflection is low, the VFX is set to medium, and we have no super sampling. It's not really required on the screen that's as small as the Anbernic. But as you can see, this isn't running at 60 FPS. I can't tell you exactly what it is running at, but it's not 60 FPS. It's somewhere north of 30, and the game still feels pretty smooth. And it still looks brilliant, I have to say. So we're also, one thing I haven't mentioned here is we're also using an 18 watt TDP. Any less and it did feel a little bit sluggish, so we're having to push the little Anbernic quite a bit. But it actually looks pretty good. It drives pretty well. And actually the controls, even though the analog stick placement isn't ideal on the Win600, it still drives pretty well. It's still not too difficult to play. And, well, it's a marked improvement over the PS Vita graphics as well. So I think I'm going to get back into playing this game. I haven't played this game for such a long time, but it just popped up in my Steam library recently and I was like, oh, I think I might give that a go, and I'm glad I have now. So what we've learned today is, can you play an 11-year-old game on a modern handheld PC? Well, absolutely, and it doesn't really matter which one you try it on, it's going to look good and it's going to run pretty well. So if you like what I do, please like, share and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next video. Thanks for watching.